What happened? Well, it's that I was in a mezcal bar. A nanotel was coming, and here's some leaks. They gave him some drops and they killed him. It has been almost 8 months and there is still nothing. If they didn't find anything, the prosecutor's office would have closed the case. Why is the file still active? Because they can't. But they also don't want to.
Because his life was taken from him. And he wanted to keep living like any young person.
I can indeed tell him, to the citizens, to the people, to take great care, because out there is no justice.
In a country where violence affects everyone, regardless of gender, today we gather to reflect on the tragic case of Daríl Avila, a young man whose life was abruptly cut short. A night that seemed normal, a party outing with friends, turned into a chapter of uncertainty and pain. Since that day, his mother, family, and friends have been living a nightmare, facing not only the loss of Daryl, but also the indifference of the authorities responsible for investigating and delivering justice. Today, his mother, loved ones, dad, sister, and friend are also here with us, raising their voices to demand answers, claim actions, and shed light on an issue that continues to claim lives while it remains in institutional oblivion. This is a call to remember that every life matters and that justice cannot be selective.
Irene Avila Aznuel, I am the mother of Daryl Ramon Alvarez Avila. My son was a young man who worked for the Mexico City government in the Institute for Social Security and Services for State Workers. He is separated, has a 12-year-old girl. He had the legacy, father of a 12-year-old girl. He died as a result of going out to have fun with his friends and they killed him. Some leaks.
I am the father of Daryl Ramon Alvarez Avila, my son. From the moment he came into our lives, for us, it was the greatest joy any parent could have had. My son was always a child full of light, wherever he was, wherever he arrived. He had a lot of brightness. He had a lot of charisma with people.
Our relationship was great. We as parents have 3 children. He was the oldest. And we always taught them that there are good things, there are bad things. Learn from the bad, but don't follow it.
As time went by, he grew up like any other child. He was always very respectful to everyone. With all his relatives, he was a wonderful son, an excellent brother, and a great dad.
He finished his degree in business administration, got married at 23 years old, became a dad at 23 years old. His baby was born the same day he started working at Institute for Social Security and Services for State Workers. So a decree had been made that pregnant women could enter any hospital. His wife was admitted to the Morelos Hospital of Iste, and there my little granddaughter was born. My granddaughter was born with a cleft lip and palate. Thank God she was born there, and my son. From there on, his life was his daughter. He separated. He didn't divorce. He separated. But they had a good relationship. We have a good relationship with my former daughter-in-law, and she lets us see the girl. My son saw his daughter every 2 weeks, but they were the best of friends, the best. My son was her little mommy, her queen.
To me, my son, I'm very proud because I had never seen a dad who loved his daughter so much, despite the fact that, well, they were a couple. who, well, no longer lived together, the mom and him, but he was a very wonderful dad to his daughter, very respectful and very attentive.
I am Diana Alvitos. I am the younger sister of Daríl Alvarez. My brother was a second dad to me. A time from my childhood. My dad wasn't with us because he was looking for better opportunities to give us better things in life, and he was there for me. Now that he's not here, I realized that I resemble my brother in many ways because he raised me for a part of my life. He was an extraordinary man. As my parents and his friend have already said, his love was unconditional. His love was infinite. He always treated me like another daughter, even though he was my brother. He was my accomplice. He was my role model. Despite, well, like all siblings, we had our arguments.
Daryl was a person full of life. He was a person who could be called loved life, loved living it, loved what surrounded him, to what he called life, his family, his girl. He was a great friend. A person who, even if they didn't know you and saw you in trouble, could approach you and lend a hand and give you confidence. Because in addition, he was a person who inspired a lot of confidence. He had a pretty nice charisma. I remember that in my working days with him, it was enough for him to turn around and smile at me so that all the stress would go away. My name is Carla Casares. I am a friend of Daríl Ramon Alvarez Avila. The reason why we are here today is to ask for justice for the homicides of Daryl.
What happened? That on the 22nd, he spoke with me at night, around 10 at night. He told me, Mom, I'm tired. I had a problem with the girl I was dating. And I told him, don't worry. We'll talk tomorrow. Rest. We'll talk tomorrow and go to sleep now, son. Yes, Mom, I love you. And I told him, your dad isn't here. Your dad is down there. He was on the avenue fixing his car. I told him he's down there with the car. Well, then he said, Mommy, I love you. Take care. Those were the last words I heard from him. I was calling him and he wasn't answering in the morning. How strange. And I spoke to this girl who was his partner, and she told me that, well, she wasn't answering him either, which was strange. I told her yes, because he always answers me. There's never a moment when you'd say he's drinking or he's wherever he wants to be. He would always answer me. And I said to a neighbor, hey, can I ask you a favor? Go see if Darren is there, because there's nothing. He doesn't answer his cell phone. They cut off the call. It's ringing and suddenly they cut off. And he said, yes, I'm going right now. He told me, here's your car and motorcycle, but he's not here and everything's closed. I tell him, no, can be. It's already 9 in the morning. And no, he answers.
That day, the 23rd of March of this year, we kept calling my son and he never answered. So at night, I tell my wife, come on, let's have dinner. We went to dinner, just the two of us. And around 9 o'clock at night, I get a call telling me Uncle Daryl is dead. I told him, no, don't tell me that. Uncle Daryl is dead. Come immediately to Mexico City. And I didn't know how to tell my wife because my wife is diabetic.
And around 9 at night, a nephew called us. He spoke to my husband. I'm diabetic. And he said, Uncle, well, I'm going to tell you something. I've just been informed that Daryl is dead.
As best I could, I told him. We went over there. And honestly, in my mind, a lot of things were going through, a lot of things. I didn't believe it. We arrived at the prosecutor's office, and the truth, I still didn't grasp what had happened.
So up to there? Well, he told me from Pachuca to here it felt like an eternity because he couldn't believe it. They told us to go to the prosecutor's office, and my daughter-in-law arrived at the hotel. She identified the body, and that's when they told us that it was him.
The day I found out, I don't know, many times they tell you that things happen for a reason. Maybe if I had been here in Mexico, I wouldn't have been able to handle the news. I wasn't here, I was in Switzerland. And they called me. It was already 4 a.m. And since, well, they didn't tell me directly, they first called my partner. And it seemed very strange to me because it was in the early morning and something made me wake up. When he woke up to answer a call, I saw messages from my mom, and the first thing I thought was, oh, I don't know, something happened to my dogs because I had left them with my parents. And I called them, and I heard my mom distraught. And she passed me to my dad, and he said, and it's something I'll never forget. I'll never forget that phrase. Don't you know the helplessness I felt being so far away, having arrived in a new country I was going to get to know? It was no longer a beautiful experience. And it was quite a journey, a full day's worth, thinking about whether I was going to say goodbye to him, whether I was going to arrive and it wasn't going to be true. I mean, it was one of the worst experiences I've lived in my life.
When I found out about his passing, I just couldn't believe it. I had spoken to him 2 days before. What happened, happened. I found out from a photo one of his friends posted, and it was like, it is. A friend of his died, I thought, because he was a motorcyclist. And I said, well, I'll write to him now to give him my condolences. Then I went back on Facebook and saw another picture, but this time it was just him. And already with, well, wishing him to go far and shine in the sky. And so it was, from what? I think it wasn't a friend. I checked his profile and discovered that he was the one who had passed away. And all these questions started, what had happened to him? Because I had no contact with anyone else but him. The only person I knew at that moment was him. So I couldn't ask anyone what had happened. I didn't know. There was no news. There was nothing. Well, nothing. The only thing on his profile was condolences, condolences, condolences. And it's very strange to me because I had just spoken with him. He wasn't sick, not this. Well, nothing out of the ordinary and common that would indicate to me that something had happened to him. Otherwise, possibly a motorcycle crash, since he was a biker. So that was my first, maybe motorcycle accident. And later someone asks if it had been a motorcycle accident, and they say no. So I dismissed the idea that it had been a motorcycle accident. The next thing that came to my mind was to think that they had killed him because he was a very cheerful person, a person who enjoyed life. Yeah, the idea that he would have taken his own life was ruled out, so it was something happened to him.
After what happened with, they told us to go to the morgue. We went to the morgue.
My girlfriend identifies the body.
For this, the body was reported at 1 in the morning, at 1 in the afternoon, and there they notified her already at night. They notify us, we go, she identifies the body. They take him to the morgue. They take my husband and me to see him. We see the body, we uncover it, they open the bag where they were carrying him, and from there, well, we left. Comments from the investigation police. What happened? Oh, well, he was in a mezcal bar. They came to the hotel and here's some leaks. Him gave him some drops and they killed him. And who was he with? Well, there was another guy who was with him. He vomited in the room. We took him out. We brought him to the military police. He kept vomiting and we admitted him. That was all I knew. From there, they gave us his body. It was dawn, and from there, well, they tell us to arrange everything for him. What's his name? For the funeral already. And they give us the certificate of death. They delayed us because of the spelling mistakes for an hour. They will deliver it to us by morning. We are going to the semaphore, because from there they sent us to the semaphore.
They form the floats until they can perform the autopsy.
And they deliver the body to us.
And when my son's body arrives, which for us was the worst thing that could have happened, seeing my son in a bag, seeing him in that situation, I said, they're not going to see my son completely cold, frozen, his mouth purple, his ear purple. It's something very strong. And to this date, I don't understand it and I don't comprehend it. Why do good people leave? And why do bad people still remain here? Why don't the authorities, when there is a death, act as they should? Don't act immediately. Let time pass.
They posted on Facebook, like where they are going to hold a wake. And if anyone wants to accompany him, well, for his last goodbye, they'll be waiting for us there. And more than 100 friends arrived to say goodbye, a lot of family, and more than 100 friends to bid farewell. To approach his mom, his dad, and to thank them. The wonderful son they had brought into this world, the wonderful being that they had lent us and had allowed us to know. Because definitely my friend was great because of the parents who had raised him, and he was great because he was respectful, loving, affectionate.
We carry. When we finished mourning my son, we arrived at his apartment and I saw the news, and that's where I found out. For the 104, that everything that had happened, that my son was in a mezcal bar drinking with some friends. You can see in the reports that he uploaded that my son is sitting normally, and there's another video cut where he is dancing, and from there to the hotel, he makes the journey. 100 Carter himself travels to the hotel to conduct his investigation, and there in the video my son appears in the hotel and to his body. And they leave around 7, around 9 in the morning. They leave dressed in my son's clothes. One of them was wearing his cap, his sweatshirt, and the other one was wearing his fanny pack.
When they pass by the cameras, they do this.
They lower their heads and leave. That's when I found out what had happened to my daughter.
I'm almost certain of. In fact, I can think of how these two people approached her. Why were they able to get in touch with him? Because he didn't have any ill intentions towards anyone. He could offer his friendship to anyone within 5 minutes. So I can think that they got to him from that side, and he didn't have the malice to see that something bad was going to happen to him. He was a person who enjoyed the party because he loved living life, as I already said. He was a person who, after a 7-day work week, a 6-day work week, because sometimes he even worked on Sundays, He will go and relax and unwind in a club, in a bar, because he liked it. He liked dancing, and that shouldn't have been a problem because he had been doing it for many years. On the day of his wake, I think we all found out at the same time how he had died. We were unaware. The news began arriving. The download links of the 100 Kotre news, which reported that a person had been a victim of the leaks. Personally, I didn't know what a leak was. I had heard their modus operandi, but I wasn't aware of that definition of a leak.
The so-called leaks, as the authorities call them, are women who operate in environments such as nightclubs, parties, and celebrations. These individuals attract men with the aim of, at a second location, administering eye drops or something similar in their drinks. These substances cause the victims to lose consciousness, which allows them to be stripped of their belongings. This imprecise and dangerous practice carries serious risks, including the possibility of overdose. In some cases, these overdoses have been fatal, since the chemicals present in the substances used can severely affect the cardiovascular and nervous system, endangering victims' lives.
From there, the prosecution, they told us, no, if we go grab them, go and come, we will talk to you, don't worry. 3 months? Nothing. Until we found a lawyer, because they told us not to hire the public defender, because the public defender will handle it well.
I refused the public defender and didn't meet the lawyer.
We hired a lawyer, and when we arrived with the lawyer, they got upset.
They checked?
They hadn't given me copies of the folder. They hadn't told me how my son had died. They hadn't told me that the blood tests, the blood chemistry for them arrived 5 months later, and there was no result. They hadn't arrived. There was no chemical to take the test. They didn't have the necessary elements to perform it. That's what they told us. So when are we going with the lawyer? Well, he already, with his knowledge, he told them this folder is poorly done. What are you missing? He asked the military police, what are you missing? To properly set up the folder, no, we don't have any chemicals here. So we hired a chemical doctor, a forensic doctor, and a chemist of forensics. And they were first taken there, the lawyer took them. First they took the official letter where they were told that we had those experts and we wanted to carry out an expert appraisal of the drinks, and they wouldn't let us.
So later on, with an official letter, they asked for the expert appraisals. After the appraisals, they didn't say that.
To present themselves, they were given a date. They already show up. They made them wait until they could finally go to the evidence warehouse to get the proofs. With cameras and everything, they take them away. If they found a chemical, the doctor explained to them why the substance was found in the beer but not the body. And yet they don't want to carry the judicial folder. I'm fighting right now against the military police because we've had 2 hearings with the control judge asking that the military police tell us what's missing or why they don't prosecute. They simply state that they lack the necessary requirements and documents. Until this last time, when I went with my husband and the judge told them to be a little empathetic with the parents, why wasn't the card being judicialized, the folder? After almost 8 months, the judge said, it's almost 8 months. Why haven't you done it? And still my lawyer told them, we give you 20 more days. Out there we start too. The person in charge of the prosecutor's office aide, told us that she was very upset because if they were working with us, why didn't we do what they said? And my lawyer said to her, have I already waited for you too long? She tells me now the excuse was that the National Institute of Statistics had not provided them with the information about where they lived.
To date, it's going to be 8 months, 8 long months, and for us, our lives are ending. The fact that they can't solve it for you. Something that you see, that I tell the military police, how can it be possible that 4 people enter a room and 3 come out alive?
They are already fully identified by the person because my son was with another person, with another friend. He identified himself. My son was going. From what I know is that they were in 3 men came out, those 2 women. One of them asked if they could drop him at his house, but he lent my son the car to continue the party. So they take off the car, they drop him off at his house and continue on. They arrive at the hotel. And that's what I don't understand. If my son in the videos doesn't look drunk, doesn't look dizzy, he's the one who pays. The hotel service, they go into the hotel and they order beers and pay with my son's card. How? I mean, I tell them it's just that no. They went, why? And from there they leave, they call an Uber and they offer the driver my son's jewelry that he was wearing, his chains, his bracelets, and they offer the cell phones that my son had. The Uber driver is also a witness to this. The other person who was with my son is also a witness. He says that when he left the place, that's what the file says. He comes out of the bathroom and sees one of them dropping something into my son's drink. And he tries to scream, but he can't anymore because he had already ingested a beer or 2 with drops that he hadn't noticed. So he tries to vomit, and that's why he started to vomit. But he says he already saw my son's body, that it wasn't moving anymore. And such was the unconsciousness of both that they left them naked in the room.
She says, how did they find it? Under what conditions did they find it? They completely degraded my friend. They left him naked in a room. They didn't even bother to make sure he was dead. I mean, they simply just left him there. They stripped him of everything, his clothes, his everything, and his life, because everything could come back except then. So they degraded my friend. These 2 women, they degraded him to the authorities because they left his body for 12 hours in a motel room. And they have been degrading him since moment 0. For being a man, for the conditions in which they found him, because that's how the authorities operate in our country.
What happened to them? Because in my way of thinking, like him, he wasn't very drunk. I feel that they gave him a dose of those drops. And yes, because they appear in the beer.
But as I tell you, the prosecutor's office doesn't want to anymore.
Prosecute that file. It already has all the elements. But what do I do before the authority that is there? I'm fighting against the authority to get justice for my son's murder.
As he tells my wife, he goes out with my son's sweatshirt, his cap, and his fanny pack where he carries his belongings. They go out completely covering their face. Why do they do it? Because they did something, because a person who does nothing shows their face. But however, this is the way they operate. In ripping men, stripping them of their belongings and leaving them there discarded. And they don't know if these people are not going to wake up. What they are going to do is take away whatever they can. They killed my son, and not only did they kill him, they did it with malice and advantage, and also left him there naked. I say no. I don't understand the prosecutor's office. There should be justice for my son. That they should judicialize the file, that's what I ask for.
That they should judicialize. She doesn't need anything else. Her expert opinions do not match the expert opinion that we got because they suppose that those, from what I have researched, those drops they put are volatile. That's why I heard them say it was the perfect crime. Because those drops, the time comes when they are no longer detected. My son was tested and everything after more than 8 hours, more than 12. They weren't going to find him after 12, they tell me, at 5 months. It turns out there's no evidence in the drops, and you say, how come? Well, it's logical you're not going to have them. But they did it in the blood. Then they tell me no, that they had
blood test, hair, and
of the brain. I never saw my son that. They took out his brain because we hugged my son. We lifted him up when we didn't see, and we didn't see that they had done any of that to him. I don't know if after they took him to the CEMECO from the bunker, they took those tests there. But to date, the dates that the prosecutor's office reports within the evidence they lack are very out of sync. Now they told me that they are going to test it. Bello. To see if they find the chemical. After I say no, after 8 months, you tell me you're going to test him again? Ah. And the expert doctor that we brought in said, it's not impossible. So that's why we looked in the beer, because it's liquid, they drink, but they always leave something. We all leave something in the beer. And that beer, if they had it, there it is. The expert is there. The witnesses are there who say how they went out with him. There's what the 100 Quattro uploaded from the Mescaleria, because it was in La Roma. From La Roma to Iztapalapa at Lagua, that's how far they go. How is it possible that from there? He made it to the Mescaleria, and the CEMEFO report says that he died at 9 in the morning. It appears that 7 entered the hotel at 7. They entered at 9. My son had already passed away. They say they hadn't hired them and that they were there in the investigation folder. I tell you because we have not approached. The Mescaleria says that he doesn't have cameras. They don't have cameras, and they already have their lawyers, but they don't handle cameras. What 100 Quattro joined was because of the same people who were recording an event from one side of a birthday.
Well, they should start thinking that they are daughters. They should start thinking that they are mothers who have children, and that one day their children could go through the same thing. And that's when they're going to see what it's like for a father to suffer.
In the pursuit of justice, a fact that had not initially been considered soon became evident: gender inequality. This factor has deeply marked Daryl's case, making it the subject of mocking comments, stigmatization, and even the obstruction of judicial processes. Social perception and gender prejudices have contributed to minimizing the severity of the case, relegating it to the background and hindering access to an impartial and effective investigation. Exposing not only the flaws in the system, but also the urgent need to build a justice that is truly equitable and free of biases.
That comment was also the one I made to both the most valuable player and human rights. I asked them the question of why, if it had been that the man had killed the woman, they immediately arrest the man, but as it's the other way around, nothing is done. That men are also vulnerable. They told me this is the society we live in, and if the human rights one told me, yes, I understand. But it's the society we live in.
Because if I were a woman, I assure you they wouldn't wait for evidence, and we have told this to the prosecutor's office. For being a man, they don't arrest them because the one who died was a man, and what if it had been a woman? Now I understand that all of feminism is they are very protected. The woman, which is good, but I am a mother, I am a woman, and they killed my son. And there do I stand. Because they left me without my son, they left my granddaughter without her father. My granddaughter still has many surgeries left. My granddaughter is suffering. She is a girl who is suffering because of her dad. Who wonders why it had to be my dad? Why did they leave me without him? She draws herself with her back to the psychologist. She doesn't want to see her present. She wants to keep living in her past. She's a little girl and they're taking her dad away from her. Men are worth something. Men have value. I don't know why when it's homicide, nothing happens. Nothing happens to men. But look at everything that's happening with a woman. If I report now that my husband hit me, even if he didn't, he would be arrested immediately.
The comments we've faced the most since the moment, one is that, well, why was she at the party? Oh, so handsome, what a pity that all the ugly ones die, I can tell you. 90% of the comments from women celebrating, well, why? Was he acting like a jerk? If he had been at home, this wouldn't have happened to him. Degrading? Totally. Hurtful because people don't stop to think that behind their comments, their mother could be reading them. Their daughter, because their daughter is an adult, to use a phone and realize everything that's going on. I mean, people don't have a drop of empathy before commenting on absolutely anything. People only give their opinion because they have a mouth, I think.
That's how the laws are. And why not the man? Why don't they defend him? Why don't they see that he is a victim because they are victims too? Why don't they defend him and why don't they protect him? Like they protect the woman, it's the same. Both men and women are at risk right now. They should take care. They should be as careful as women. Same with drinks. Don't leave a drink. If they don't see it being opened, if they don't drink it at that moment, don't drink it, since they shouldn't leave it on a table because that's what they take advantage of. The exact moment when they get distracted to be able to throw those things, those drops, and dominate them. And the purpose? I feel like it's assaulting them, but they no longer have feelings if they're killed. Not anymore. What would I tell them? To be careful of her, to be careful of the waitresses. Not all are the same, but unfortunately, you have to think that there are some there, and that one of those girls is going to kill you, like they did with my son. Yes, they must be very cautious. Now a man can't even touch a girl or hug her because he's already abusing her, because he's already raping her, because everything is bad. That's it.
We, as friends of Daryl, think that they already took him drugged to the motel because knowing Daryl, we know that Daryl would have lent us. Point number 1, to enter a room with an extra companion. Perhaps with 2 girls, but not with a man, another woman, etc. So wouldn't it have been an action that Daryl would have taken to begin with? He drives the car from the Mezcalera in La Roma to the Picasso Motel in Iztapalapa. Let's say that the journey is about 8 kilometers, more or less. No reports of any altercation on the way. I mean, any news that they crashed? No, nothing. She arrives safely at the motel and pays with her card. That's true. It was something he could do. He was a very gentlemanly person, so... Well, if he was going to invite her to the party, he would invite her to the party, right? Absolutely. Up to that point, there was nothing strange until the moment when 4 people walked in. I mean, definitely, Daryl had to be in a state where he wasn't making his own decisions for 4 people to enter a room.
We don't know if they belong to a gang as such. There is a league gang. If there is a registered league gang here in Mexico City, we don't know if they belong to this one.
We know they committed 3 prior crimes before my friend's case because when we started to gather information on social networks, 2 more people came out to say that in Acapulco 8 days before, they had the same people because social networks provided the names of these 2 girls. The video indeed of her being inside a hotel with another guy, 2 prior to the just drugged. No murder before. Daríos, and a year before at the Texcoco Fair, there had already been a death because of them. We don't know about those 2. If they belong to an organization, those 2 as such already have at least 4 crimes declared. And the homicide of my friend, that's what they say, that's what they comment, that they are mother and daughter, then they say they are friends. We don't know. We don't really know what their relationship is. Well, they look almost the same age, could I tell you? Yes. Between 25 and 30 is more or less.
It's been almost 8 months and there's still nothing. If they didn't find anything, the prosecutor's office would have closed the case, right? Why is the file still active? Because they can't. But they also don't want to. I have asked the person in charge of the prosecutor's office, I asked her, and not now. I said, help me. I know my son is not coming back, I know, but I want to do justice for him because he didn't have to die the way he did. The second time I told her that she scolded us because we did what the control judge did. Well, she implied that the mother should have controlled her son better. I found those words offensive. And I told her I would never wish what I have on anyone, but you would? And she said, I don't have children. And I said, now I understand why you are the way you are. Why don't you do what you have to do? Why don't you know what it's like to have a man in your life? Maybe you have brothers and fathers, but not a man with the love that is had for a son. Because children are everything to us, whether they are male or female. However, justice has not been served for my son.
And that's it. Right now, the contact has been with the public prosecutor. From us, our lawyers. And well, right now, they have 20 days to be able to resolve what they have stuck. But we as parents, as the family that we are of Dario, we want justice for my son because they took his life from him. And he wanted to keep living like any young person.
To the prosecutor's office, that they've already messed up. They did their job wrong from the start because we know that definitely from the start, the job was done wrong. The file wasn't opened as it should have been. The processes weren't carried out as they should have been. And we can guess that maybe that's what's hindering the process a bit. They don't want to abandon what they did at the beginning. They don't want to go back on what they did at the beginning. Because maybe for them, my friend was going to be just another statistic, another death found in a deplorable situation. More, because these crimes are not reported. They are not brought before the law because they are shameful for men. Almost all the men these women approach are married. So that's a hindrance for them to report completely. So for the prosecution, maybe it was just another case. Just another one of those cases where no one was going to testify, where no one was going to speak up. But my friend was a family man above all else. My friend was being loved by his parents, by his daughter, by his friends, by his siblings, by a lot of people. So the prosecutor's office, from the very beginning, did a poor job because they didn't do the investigations they had to do from the start, because they took more than 12 hours to collect his body, because once they collected it, well, I don't know what the problem was between the prosecution, the experts, and the places that had to take care of that, but there was a problem. And so now the prosecution doesn't want to take charge of reassembling the folder and of judicializing it, of already declaring. Well, these people are already identified, fully identified. They don't want to issue the arrest warrants. I mean, they keep putting up obstacles. So what I would tell the prosecutor in charge of the case is to get to work. Firstly, it's their job to compile the case files, not their parents. It's their responsibility. The police are conducting an investigation, searching for evidence. Their parents have done more work than them in these 8 months. Seeking external lawyers and experts as the prosecutor's office continues making excuses. And to the government, to the president, to the person in charge of protection, well, they should protect us effectively. They should protect us. They should do us justice. In this case, justice for Daríl, completely. Justice for Daríl, for his entire family, because in the end, it's his family who they are going to give justice to. My friend is already beyond good and evil, but his family deserves justice. His daughter deserves to know that she lives in a country where she can and should feel protected. And that the people who attacked her dad are where they need to be. People who kill need to be behind bars. They shouldn't be free or paying bribes, so they won't get caught, nor... They don't have rights. They no longer have rights. They lost their rights to be civic people. When they decided to take the life of a man in this case. So let justice be done. Let the entities that have to take charge, I don't know, the Iztapalapa prosecutor's office, the cities, I don't know who has to take charge of doing justice for Ariel, but not just because he deserves it, but because they attempted on his life, because they took his life away, be it a man, woman, whatever, they are a citizen, and the agencies are in charge of taking care of our integrity as citizens.
It's very painful to see your child in a bag, cold, and they just show him to you like, there you go. It's not so humanized anymore, because seeing my son in that way, I will never forget. Never. Because I was asking him to open his eyes, because I was asking him to wake up, because to this day I can't believe it.
I demand justice for my brother. I have since that time. I had never felt what it was like to have anxiety, panic, fear of being on the streets, and now I feel it. It gives me a lot of anxiety. I only ask for justice because today it was my brother, but later it will be another and another and another. And that they are men, no. It doesn't matter to the government, to justice. I am a woman and I support feminists, and I am proud that we finally have a voice and that justice is being done for all the femicides that have been committed, but there are also men. But there are also bad women who are now living their life as if nothing. From that day on, they took one from us. A big part of our life. Since my brother left, our world stopped. And it's very hard trying to continue with your life, knowing that never again will he return to your home, that he will never be there again at important moments. It's just that now I feel a huge responsibility to always remind her daughter who her dad was and what he was like, and to never forget him. And simply, I want to live free, live without fear. It's incredible that now even going out to have fun with your friends, to de-stress, to dance, because it's not bad to go out and have fun. Now even that you have to be careful. And all I ask for is that justice for my brother, justice for what they did to him. Because we are fighting against the government, which is supposed to be the one that takes care of us, not against these people. And you can call them that because I don't know what else to call them. To those people who take life away and who put themselves in our place, who have a little empathy, that it's not bad to go out and have fun, it's not bad to meet people, but be very careful because now you never know who you're going to run into. And we know that justice won't bring my brother back. But it will soothe a little bit of the pain we feel in his absence. And let it not be one more of those that the prosecutor's office leaves as a closed case.
We, unfortunately, no one has approached us to give us a support network. No one. I mean, everything their parents have been doing has been for them, and through their pain and through their hustle and their work. We don't know of any agency that can take care of these things, all right? I can tell you to the citizens, to the people, that they should take great care because out there is no justice. Men, women, boys, girls, take great care because our justice system prioritizes its interests over the interests of the citizens.
What can I tell you about a prosecutor's office that doesn't work as it should? If the same judge is telling them that they have been brought files without evidence, which are all the ones that already appear in mine, why don't they bring it? He told him that some empathetic parents are here. Imagine my feelings when I discovered the deception. Then no, I don't believe in the prosecution. I do believe in the judges. I don't believe in the work of the investigation police because they all do it routinely. They tell you one thing and act in another way. Also, everything starts with the investigation police. The version they gave me is very different from the one in the file. The same military police tells me not to believe the police. Who am I supposed to believe? If they were the first ones to see my son, who are you going to believe? The authorities? So they better watch out. They better watch out because there's no law to protect them. There's nothing for them. Nothing for the youth, really. There isn't. Everything is bad from a man towards a woman, but when a woman attacks a man, how good that happened to him, right? Oh, well, because he was partying, because he wasn't at home. I'm going to make the comment about the insurance company, that was my new one, to process an insurance that left studies for my granddaughter, my son. And he said mockingly, after 2 hours, the agent told him, why didn't he take you to the party? And he said, hey, don't you care? Did he have the right to have fun? I mean, comments like that a week?
I mean, it's illogical.
So, well, I don't know how we could help more people, but I can tell them not to give up. Their voice rises as they seek means. Like this one, to help them amplify their voice where it can be heard. That they look beyond the prosecutor's office because they cross their arms and say that it can't be done, that they should wait, that it's good, that it hurts, right? Because there have been mockeries. 8 months later, it's a total mockery that there is no justice and the file has been assembled. Maybe they don't sit down and laugh at them, but it's a total mockery.
If they are women and they are mothers, they didn't see what they left behind. They didn't witness the suffering my little girl and I are enduring. And her mom allows us to see her and take care of her. She came out of surgery and I took her. How painful it was to heal the palette dressings, and my son did that. With each surgery, my son learned from videos.
And he would treat his daughter's wounds.
She has had about 5 surgeries on her little mouth, and there are more to come. And they leave me without their father. And I can show you thousands of photos where everything is with her and with us as a family. Yes, we were very close, with problems like all families, but united like no other. Do you have any idea if any of my 3 children felt something?
Worried?
We were all there and we had a family meeting to talk, parents and children.
And we just asked for justice and for them to raise their voice. Yes, it is scary because we know that this criminal group or these women or these people who take life without any feeling, well, they do instill fear. Thinking that they can do it to you, something to raise your voice, but, well, it's what we have to do because the government doesn't take care of us, so we have to raise our voice.
If you have any story you would like to tell in these interviews, you can send me an email to email@pepemisterio.com/X, or if not, write me on Instagram as PepeMisterioMex. Whether you are here in Mexico or anywhere in the world, it can be done by video call.